Oppai Hunter.
Sankarea is the story of a boy named Chihiro Furuya and a girl named Rei Sanka. Furuya has been obsessed with zombies since he was a kid, going as far as to only be attracted to them and dreaming of one day having a zombie girlfriend. Rhea was a rich girl who was sheltered by her overprotective and creepy father. She longed for freedom and a regular life. Lucky for both of them, after meeting by chance, they create a reanimation potion which brings back Chihiro's cat as well as Rhea after an accident. And now Chihiro must figure out how to help Rhea stay in this world and live the normal life she never got to have.
Story.
The story starts off pretty interesting, learning about Chihiro and Rhea's lives, as well as the beginnings of Rhea's life as a zombie. But once you get through those beginning sections, the series really starts to lose steam. After finishing the season, I was curious about the ending because it leaves off on a pretty big cliffhanger. So I looked into the manga and I immediately saw that the issues that we had with the story stems just from the anime adaptation rather than the story itself, because the manga is a lot more condensed of a story, where the entire 13 episode run of this season only covers 10 chapters of the manga. And I really think that if they didn't take the liberties with the anime adaptation, this could have remained a strong story and kept the momentum, but the things the anime added just really drug it down.
I agree with all of basically what Jason said. I said the story started off very strong, and at the time when it started off, I could give it a solid 9 out of 10 just because of how good and interesting it was to me. But as it started going on with the story, it just felt all over the place and just overall disappointing in my mind, which made my rating go down.
I feel like the premise was fresh and interesting, but definitely, as Jason said, lost steam halfway through. I think there was far too many distractions with the later episodes, especially with a whole episode dedicated to incestuous behavior, which I feel like we didn't need. And then there was just a whole filler episode that should have been placed before a certain episode. So the timeline and structure of it kind of just throws it off from being a good anime. And I, like Monk said, I had a very high rating for it, but it just went down with each progressing episode halfway through. It's good overall, but very messy.
Fan service.
This series didn't really have fan service for an ecchi. It showed some titty, some ass, some panty shots, but it just didn't feel like an ecchi, just an anime with fan service. I was okay with it. It wasn't all over the place, which I didn't mind, but I don't feel like this anime should be called an ecchi with how little fan service there was.
I agree with Monk. There wasn't that much fan service. It had its spicy moments. Basically, the fan service came from Wonko. She was the only one that basically was fully nude and you actually saw explicit things with Wonko. Rhea had some moments, but there wasn't that much there. Like, the fan service really was an afterthought with the show.
Yeah, all you're going to get is just the occasional shower bath scene every couple of episodes, but I honestly forgot that it was an ecchi for the most part of the series, so if that's your goal with this series, this is the wrong show to go to.
Characters.
I like Chihiro and Rhea. They were really good together, and I thought they were really cute as a couple. The rest of Chihiro's family is great too. Wonko got to be a little too much at times. Like, in the very beginning, I was like, okay, she has like this tiny crush on Chihiro, but then it just became super distracting and just uncomfortable. And then Rhea's family is also pretty uncomfortable to deal with. So if you don't like feeling uncomfortable, I'd suggest skipping this one.
Yeah, I generally don't feel too strongly about any of the characters in the series. Even with the extra stuff that they did add in the anime, I felt like they didn't really have strong development that I cared about. The stuff with Reyes' family could have been interesting, but I feel like it didn't really go very deep beyond the surface level. And the only character that I really do have an opinion of is Ronco, who I find annoying because of how intrusive she is with the whole having a crush on Furuya angle.
So, for my general opinions about these characters, for Chihiro, I found him an alright character, but he kind of creeped me out sometimes, so it's probably the point. I didn't care for Rhea at all. She was just a meh person to me. Her story could have been interesting, just, I don't know, just felt like it wasn't super important to me for some reason. Maro, Chihiro's little sister, I probably liked her the best because, I don't know, I just didn't find anything wrong with her. She was pretty cool. And everyone else just sucked as a character. I didn't care for any of the other characters I'm not gonna care to mention.
エンターテイメントバリュー
As mentioned before, I felt like the series was pretty strong in the beginning, but as it went on, I began to do other things while it was playing in the background. Even before I found out that some of the episodes were completely filler, they really took a hit on the entertainment of the show. I wish it went harder on the romance angle because I feel like it just kind of took a background and it really didn't get into the romance between Furuya and Rhea. And because this has so little story stretched throughout the 13 episodes, it feels like really nothing happens in the series. And the ending conflict with Rhea's father really felt flat as a conclusion for what had been going on throughout the show to that point.
Like Jason said, I found some of the starting episodes pretty entertaining and fun to watch, but as it went on and it was just kind of really stretched out again, as Jason said, I kind of got just bored during it. And when big stuff did happen, it just made me disappointed in how it ended up. And it just wasn't enjoyable towards the end. There were some funny moments which kept it alive for me, but then you start to get sidetracked by the incesty relationship that they like to focus on a lot, which made me very uncomfortable. But overall, it was okay to watch. I was just bored a good amount towards the end.
Like the both of them have said, the best way to describe the story at this point and just the overall anime is disappointing. Because like we've all said, it starts off very strong, but where I pinpoint where it turns down is, like I said, the full episode of Wonko just going into her crush on Chihiro. Like, it is an uncomfortable 22 minutes of just her going into her crush on her cousin. But the filler episode with Maro, I felt was very enjoyable and one of the better episodes. And I feel like the main problem with this show is that they took one arc of the manga and they're like, okay, let's stretch it to these 12 episodes, when they could have easily concluded it in maybe like 6 and then started a different arc of the manga. But they didn't, and that's why the conclusion just feels so anticlimactic. And the OVA just makes it worse because it hints at something more when that could have been thrown in the other episodes instead of just it being stretched.
ベストガール
For this part, I literally put Rhea and then a question mark. Because there weren't many girls, and if there were girls, they're either weirdly incestuous, or they weren't likable, or they're children. So, I'm really only left with Rhea. But again, I don't find Rhea that interesting, and I just wish in general there are more waifu characters, because this is just a last resort of a best girl.
Like Monk said, there weren't many choices, so of course I'm going with Rhea as well. But I actually like Rhea. I thought she was fun and bubbly, and there should have been more to her, but the series did kind of put her in the back seat. She is beautiful, and I want to beat her family's ass for making her life shit. Yeah, I promise I'm not a zombie fucker, so don't be saying that in the comments, okay? Okay, Jason, your turn.
Yeah, with the limited options, my choice is Rhea as well, and I kind of sit in the middle of both of them, where I didn't find her super uninteresting, but I feel like she didn't live up to a potential that she might have to be a definitive best girl. And of course, long black hair, purple, and then red eyes. You can't go wrong with it.
ファイナルスコア
I give Sankarea a 6 out of 10. The show started off really strong and solid, but just lost me. I recommend it, but only if you're looking for something casually to watch. Like, don't put it at the top of your watch list. Like, you literally are just like, I have nothing better to do. Sure, put it on. I cut it some slack for coming out in 2012, but that doesn't excuse it for everything. The English dub grew on me. I thought it was pretty good by the end of watching it. It could have done better overall, but still a decent anime.
My final score is a 6 out of 10. The series really has some good points and a decent premise, but it's heavily dragged down by bad pacing and a weird structure to the episodes, plus the episodes that really didn't need to be there. I think if you're interested in this series, the manga is probably the way to go, and I might just add it to my own list because I am interested in the series and seeing if it's better in the original form.
I give this story a 6 out of 10 as well. I really love the start. It made me very interested, but with all the characters I just didn't care about, that they shoved down our throats a lot, and the downhill story, I just can't give it anything better than a 6 or anything worse than a 6. Because it was pretty good, just it could have been much better.
And so that brings our Oppai Hunters rating to a unanimous 6 out of 10. It's a decent series with its good moments, but if you're not afraid of reading, I'd probably suggest checking out the manga instead.
Make sure y'all like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. I'm watching you. If you don't, I'll go hurt you. I'll make you watch that smartphone anime. I'll make you watch it 20 times in a fucking row. You don't want that. So make sure you do what I say.